All right, guys, if you're like a lot of players that I work with, you struggle with standing up too much during your downswing. And that causes you all kinds of inconsistencies with solid contact, directional control, and just a general frustration when you go play. Now, what good players do, and I'm going to show you in today's video, is how you can stay down through the ball. I'm going to show you what I did with a recent lesson of mine, a simple drill you can use and some feels that you could take out on the golf course to stay more down through impact finally, so you can go out and hit the ball much more consistent. Let's hop in. All right, guys, so a recent student came in to see me who was really struggling, like a lot of us do, with standing up too much during the downswing, right? And if we look at that from the down the line angle, and you know this, right, this sort of early extension or standing up motion. And he said, Eric, listen, I've been doing the stand-up move for like over a decade. I've got extremely inconsistent results day to day. One day I can strike it pretty good and get the timing right. The next day it's terrible. I'm losing distance. My contact isn't good. What can I do to fix it? And we looked at his swing on video a little bit and clearly identified, right, if we look at my setup position and draw a line on my head and an angle through my body, that from setup to impact, he was much taller or standing up much too much. And that was causing him his issues. So in an effort to stay down through the ball, we did a simple drill that I want you to try as well. I want you to grab an 8-iron, or you could do this with an 8, 9, or 7-iron. And I'm going to show you the drill that we did for him to exaggerate the feelings. Anytime someone says to me, or for you, if you've had an issue for like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you probably want to exaggerate a lot, not a little, when you go into changes. So I wanted to give him something to exaggerate a lot. So here's the drill. 8-iron, I want you to take your normal setup position. Now, instead of gripping the club normally at the top of the grip here, I want you to move your hands down to the point where they're almost at the end of the grip. So almost towards the steel. Now you notice when I do that, that the club head is where relative to the ball? It's up above the ball, agreed? Maybe 2 or 3 inches. Now, when I take my setup where the club's up above the ball, and this is what I gave to him in the lesson, I said, okay, go ahead and hit it, right? And just kind of messing around. Didn't give him any instructions. He said, well, how am I supposed to hit the ball? And I said, well, if the club is 2 inches above the ball at setup, and your instruction was to stay there, right? Keep your height during the backswing. I'll show you how to do this in a minute. But get down to the golf ball during the downswing, how would you do that? And I gave him no instructions as to how to do it. I just said, take your setup, grip down, go back to about left arm parallel during the backswing, and now get down to the golf ball. And he posed an impact like this that looked pretty darn good and was nothing like his normal swing, right? His normal swing impact was way up here. I said, grip down, get the club head down to the golf ball, and he looked way more tilted over. I said, what do you feel like when you do that? He said, well, I feel like I'm much more bent over to the ground. I said, good, right? I said, reiterate to me what your problem is. He said, well, when I take my setup, if I drew a line on my head and through my body like we did, I went from my current height and distance away from the ball at setup, and by the time I got to impact, I was taller and farther from the ground. I said, that's correct. Now, if you are coming from a place where you're taller and farther away from the ground, and we want to get to a neutral spot, we have to feel the opposite of those issues. I said, what's the opposite of taller and farther from the ground? This guy, being a very intelligent gentleman, said, well, the opposite of taller and farther would be shorter and closer. I said, you got it. Shorter and closer is what you have to feel. And like all lessons like this, I say, okay, let's start simple and we'll kind of add layers of detail as we go. So what we did, I said, okay, let's just start hitting. Take your normal setup, grip down to the edge of the grip. You're going to be above the ball. We're going to make a backswing to left arm parallel. And then I want you to feel like you get down and hit the ball and get to a full finish position. You know, we started at about 50% speed. So take your normal setup, grip down to the end, club head's above the ball, and let's go ahead and get down to the ball. And he went through and he hit a nice shot like that with his 8-iron. So we went back, looked on video, and he probably went from standing up 2 inches to basically maintaining his height. So he didn't lower down at all. Like we'll show some players on the screen where at setup, right, we draw a line on their head, they go up to the top, they're probably about the same, but during the downswing, from the top of the swing to impact, they actually do lower, right? You can see the Tiger video where he's lowering quite a bit. You can see the Max Homa where he's lowering quite a bit into impact. And all of those actually lower during the downswing. They certainly don't stand up, right? Because we know during the downswing, when you stand up, what do I need to do to get to the golf ball? I've got to throw my angles too soon. I've got to straighten my right wrist, straighten my right arm. I've got no shaft lean, low point behind the ball, no club face control. Versus what all those guys look like from the top, they actually do lower and they turn through the ball nicely. So we hit a couple shots like that and that was going better, but he did what a lot of players do when they're trying to fix standing up. Okay, what they do and what I don't want you to do is when you're trying to fix standing up, don't try and feel like your chest and shirt buttons just go straight down to the ground. Okay, you don't go chest down, you go shoulder down. Here's a really key point. We're going to show some players through impact here. To get this correct through the ball, you want to have your right hip and your right shoulder go down towards the ball. When your right hip and shoulder are down towards the ball, that puts your chest out towards the target. Okay, now when I'm holding on to a club, it won't be that turned, but you get the point where the body is open. We're going to look at Max Homa, Tiger, Justin Thomas, put them all side by side, and you see what they look like through the ball. Their hip and their shoulder are down, their chest is out towards the target. The gentleman I was working with when I was doing this, and he had a question that might help you as well. He said, Eric, well, wait a minute. When I am taking this setup where I'm above the ball down to normal, and I actually feel like I'm going down, aren't I gonna hit the ground behind the ball when I transfer to my normal? I said, good question. Two things. Number one, so long as you do the rotation piece correct, like get your rib cage and body open enough, that'll help negate that. But also, if you are quite literally closer to the ground with your body compared to normal, you're gonna have to shorten something else, which is your trail arm and trail wrist. So just a little caveat, when you're taking this to your normal swing, you can take your normal setup, feel like the right hip and right shoulder point down towards the ball, right, with the chest towards the target like the pros. Just feel like when you're coming through, that right arm is a little more bent and the right wrist is a little bit more bent back, a little longer. That will make up for the distance that you're going down towards the ground. Right shoulder and right hip down, right arm and right wrist bent. He was trying to come through, and I don't want you to do this. Don't try and just get your chest down. Hip and shoulder are too far back. I'm stuck. I have nowhere to go. The shoulder and the hip go down. The chest goes out towards the target. So you'll see those arrows. That's sort of the image I want you to have when you're doing this. So 8-iron, grip down here to the bottom. We're going to hold it above. Back to left arm parallel. Right shoulder and hip go down. You're going to feel like you're lower, much closer to the ground, but I don't just stop there. I keep turning my body through, all the way through to a full finish. Normal setup, grip down to the edge of the grip, hold it above like this. Back to left arm parallel. And then we'll go down and get it. And you notice when I come through, and we'll see those pros, their body is still tilted over. I'm bent over here forward at setup. Obviously I'm going to keep that tilt when I go back, but look at them on the screen. They keep that tilt on the way through. Where's their chest pointed when they get into this follow through position? Is it at the ground or at the target? It's at the target. So the right side goes back, right? The right side goes down. Watch this. How do I do that lowering? He asked me. I said, okay, let's draw a line on the top of my head. How I lower on the way down, there's some lower body stuff, but in terms of upper body, is right side bend. So let's draw a line on my head on the screen. Notice when my right hip goes closer to my right shoulder, does my head go down or up? It goes down. But as it goes down, it also goes away from the target if I was going this way, right? And that's where when I rotate, that brings it back. So it's side bend and rotation. At my setup, I have very little side bend. At impact, I've got much more. It's this, side bend. See how my head lowers? And to prevent it from going back, I turn with it. I turn with it. So how we get that lowering is that right side getting closer. Remember, you don't fix standing up by chest down, you fix it by shoulder down. Right hip and right shoulder down to the golf ball. Let's do one more. And listen, when he and I were doing this with a lesson, we did this one drill for like 60 minutes. And then I wanted him to go home and practice this about 20 reps a day for the next 90 days. So we didn't get it perfect, but we went from standing up 2 inches to about maintaining our height. So same thing one more time. Got the 8-iron. We're going to grip down to the bottom of the grip. The club's about, an inch or two above the ball. I'm gonna make a backswing to about left arm parallel, and then during the downswing, I'm gonna use that right side to get down closer to the ball and through the ball. Chest is out towards the target, right hip and right shoulder down. Club is about 2 inches above it, back to about left arm parallel, right side down. And all of those I'm hitting very solidly, and he was hitting the ball much more solidly when he was doing this as well, and you will. If you're standing up, use side bend and rotation to stay down, not the chest down. Now, of course, okay, like all things, if you're standing up during your downswing, you have to check the pieces earlier in your swing. If your shaft is way steep or your club face is way open, your body's gonna stand up to fix those. So you want to change those or make sure those pieces are set, but those are the feels when you work through. I'd recommend doing that using video, and then 20 to 30 reps, as many days as you can for like 60 to 90 days. Now, if you have any questions on your golf swing, once I'm coaching like this gentleman, or have us look at your swing and build you a plan with drills that are applicable to you, would love to have you at cogornogolf.com. Either way, appreciate you guys being here. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions.